Hey, good morning. Do we have the slides here? Okay. So I'm talking here about burning some boats, and I think we just skipped to the last slide, so the talk is over. No, just kidding. So my name is Lasse Seppänen, and I worked on games for almost 20 years now. Wilhelm had a fantastic presentation. I hope you were all here to see it 30 minutes ago, where he outlined the history of Finnish mobile gaming, and I saw most of the steps I was involved with. So I've been in 3 waves of mobile so far, and I've headed a $20 million AAA project during my career. But now I'm heading a new startup here in Helsinki called PlayRaven, and we are focused on free-to-play completely. Now, let me tell you a little bit about burning the boats first, and then I will also share some of the latest development techniques we're using to great success. So here's the team at the moment. We're 22 people. The maybe special thing for us is that most of us are foreigners. Finns are a minority, and we come from a number of different companies, technology companies like Unity, Supercell, free-to-play company, and so on. And also we have launched 3 games so far globally. And the thing about PlayRaven is that we don't only want to make a game. That's not big enough dream for us. We want to make games that can create new categories. What does that mean? It means like Civilization created a new category of games. Clash of Clans, in its way, established a new mobile game category. I think Clash Royale is doing it, Pokemon Go is doing it. That's our dream, that's our goal. We want to establish new categories of games that will then be a broad category developed by many developers. Of course, that's a huge challenge, because what we are basically doing is we're getting out of the comfortable pockets where everybody else is and leave their company and try to find new pockets where we're all alone. And that's a bit of a scary prospect. It's a bit like searching for new continents. Let's say Christopher Columbus, when he started out, he thought he was going to India. He was pretty sure about it, but he had no idea how long the journey really was. And what he discovered was completely different. But still, if we search for India and we find America, I'm pretty happy with that. But what does all of this have to do with burning the boats then? Why would we burn the boats? That's a fair question. It's something that I've held dear to my heart throughout my career. It's pretty important. This comes from ancient history, where Alexander the Great, when he landed in Persia with his army, the first thing he ordered was burn all the boats. And then he turned to his men and said, we're going to go back home in Persian boats, or we die. That's a little bit melodramatic, of course, in the games industry here. But there's a lot of truth to that. Because making games is hard, and making successful games even harder. This is a huge challenge that we're taking on. And I think we have to refuse the easy road. It's so easy to stay in your comfort zone, like I said, and just make a copy or a clone of an existing game. Maybe you reskin it to something like, hey, there's a fantasy version of this game. Let's make a sci-fi version of that. That's going to be a huge killer, but it's usually not. That's the easy road, and people think it's a safe and sound business strategy, but often it's not. The way we think at PlayRaven is that we have to face the challenge head on and forget about everything else. We can't go back. We have burnt the boats. And the most important thing that comes out of this is full focus. We're just completely focused on the task at hand. Everything we do, everything we learn during the journey is applicable to only that problem that we're solving. And often, how many here have their own game studio? Cool. So you people know that running a game studio is often like this. You're just going too fast, things are coming your way, I could do this, there's this opportunity, they want to talk to us, and so on. If you don't have a clear focus, then you're sort of grasping for all of these opportunities rather than going directly to your goal at the fastest possible speed. You're kind of advancing on a broad front slowly. So what we chose as focus at PlayRaven is basically we only make new IP, so that's the category creation part. We're obsessed with new, I would say, even to a fault at times. So some of the design discussions we've had are just going far too wide. And that's why it's important to curb that opportunity space in other ways. So we only focus on mobile and free to play. Some of our people have a premium background from AAA, for instance. So we just rule out premium completely, and we don't discuss it. We don't talk about what if we just went back to premium. The other thing is strategy games. So we chose that focus from the start, and that's super helpful because then we don't deviate into discussions about, maybe we should make a puzzle game, match 3 or whatever. We're just completely focused on this genre. Although I have to say that these days it seems that the RPG genre and the strategy games genre are kind of overlapping a bit. So we are also borrowing some RPG stuff in our games. Well, now thinking about yourself, why is focus so important? I mean, I already mentioned game design, but everything else is also dependent on it. It makes your work much easier if you have a clear focus. Recruitment, all of the people we have recruited, we've openly said we only work on new things, and we search for those kinds of people who have the mindset and the bold attitude that they can create these new things, take the leap, which is a difficult leap and a big challenge. But also investors, we found great investors who are really focused on what we are focused on. So they want to support us on our journey, and they want to support making new things, opening new categories. It affects everything, basically, everything you do, people you talk to, meetings you choose to take, and so on. So what are the results from our focus so far? We released 3 games. Our first game came out in 2014, top 10 in 99 countries. Second game, earlier this year, February, number 1 in 41 countries. Especially happy about US, number 1, because US is always our main target market when we're designing anything. And then, finally, Winter State, top 5 strategy in 123 countries. So all of the games have been top 10 upon launch. Very happy about this, and all of them were very original. Robocide, for instance, has a very, very unique game mechanic, high D1 retention, over 60% in the US market, and so on. So this can work, but like I said, it's a huge challenge and gotta be laser focused on it. But I wanted to conclude this talk talking about our new title, because I'm actually even more excited about this one. Here we're applying all of the learnings we've had, all of the focus we've had has come to this point. And this game is the new Spy Master. So we're making a new game. We went back to the basics and thought about what does it really mean to be a Spy Master? What do you deal with? In the first game, you were building intelligence networks in Europe. And after all this experience and all of this work on these games, we decided that there's a couple of things that come together. So being a Spy Master actually is dealing with people, and lots of people. They can look ordinary, but they can be pretty deadly, or they can be pretty devious people. So we built this whole game around collecting these characters, but we don't just copy some character collecting game. We make our own unique game mechanics for this game. And I wanted to share a few things about the development methods we're using. So this game, we started from scratch with a new team. It would have been so easy to put the same team to make another Spy Master game. But we felt that the first game just didn't, we know the brand and the idea of being a Spy Master has huge potential, but it just didn't hit that mark. It didn't ring the right notes from the instrument. So we decided to recruit a whole new team. That's what we did last year. We started from scratch and said, don't make a sequel to the old game. Forget about the old game. Think about what it means to be a Spy Master. The other very important thing we did was we have never soft launched a game in under 12 months. We've always polished it to a degree and then said, now it's ready for measurement on the real market and so on. We've used testing methods like playtest cloud, closed beta, and so on. But we found that those things, while helpful, they also can be a bit misleading. Because the qualitative feedback you get from a closed beta, for instance, does not necessarily correlate with what you will see on the market. Playtest Cloud, the same thing, fantastic tool for figuring out the usability problems in your first-time user experience. But unfortunately, we've realized it doesn't really correlate with the things we really need the most, which is D14, D30, and beyond retention. So this game, we put it in soft launch after only 5 months of development. It's out on the markets since June, and Canada, Australia, Netherlands are the markets where we have it at the moment. The other thing we changed was bring it to soft launch very early, and then start developing it with data. So we moved to a 2-week sprint schedule, where we have a build every second week. And once we have deployed the build to the Android store, we start buying users. And we see the actual data from actual users instead of some qualitative or some closed or some sign-up system where people have to opt in to play the game and give qualitative feedback. So we have representative data sample sizes now, and we are also making a big change in which metrics we track. So, for instance, we used to be really excited about a high D1, a day one retention, for instance. Now, forget about those absolute numbers. It's far more important to find a curve that is flat enough. Because there are many things you can do later for instance, improving the first-time user experience. But if your curve is not flat enough, you will not have that long tail. And this shape of the retention curve we've been measuring every 2 weeks with this method. And the results? I mean, a lot of people tell us you can't really raise retention in soft launch. I think we disagree, because we worked on this for 2 months now, a little bit over 2 months. Our D14 retention has doubled. Our D30 is pretty close to doubling at the moment. And we're going to deploy a new build this week's Friday, so let's see if we can get there. But I just wanted to finish this by saying, think about what you're doing and consider carefully, have you burned enough boats? Because I think if you burn enough boats, then you have a good chance to win. Thank you.